Doc, come on. Just give it to me straight, all right?
I'm not sure you're prepared for this diagnosis.
I'm ready. Just go on.
To be quite frank, I haven't seen anything like this in my entire medical career.
What's it called?
We have a code 666.
Mother, man.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Yeah, I was trying to think of an excuse, but there's no better excuse than the truth. My wife posted it here in the comment. And yeah, we crashed. My wife was off work today and we crashed. And yeah, woke up. It's like, oh my God, I got a life to do. Should have set an alarm for myself, but I didn't think I was going to sleep for that long, which I guess is good because I haven't been sleeping very well lately at all. Part of the whole thing I've been dealing with. So it's nice to catch some Z's, I guess. But here with you guys, and I apologize tremendously about that. That's not me to be late for something of anything. I'm never late. So it is weird when I am. But the wife has got the coffee going. I got some water here, and I'm ready to do it. Been thinking about this one actually all week. Was looking forward to it because I really do enjoy doing these lives with you guys. It's a lot of fun. It's a challenge, especially with everything going on in the case and everything going on in my personal life. There's my wife. Thank you, Jenny. And, got a lot going on. And so these are a nice kind of departure from all that. And, sit here and chat with you guys. And looking at the chat here, it's weird. I got these new lights in my dining room that make me feel like I'm on the surface of the sun. The VA's got some home health people that come in here a couple times a week for a few hours at a time, and they're just doing all kinds of good stuff. And they changed a couple of the lights in the chandelier type light I've got. Well, I don't know if you noticed it ever with those LED type lights, but once you change one, the rest of them look like crap because they dim over time instead of just go out, which is kind of nice. But in another way like that, it looked really terrible. So we've changed all the lights, and it's like crazy bright in here, which does wage war with the eyes. But I'm hanging in there. I'm actually able to see, for the most part, I can see the chat. Probably get it going here on my phone in a minute, so I could see it even better. But yeah, surgery in just over a week. A week from Monday will be my surgery, so I'm getting really close, getting anxious. Definitely ready. Been following everything I can with the Idaho 4 case. I get kind of lost in the documents. I know some of the creators like to read the documents. I'm not a big fan of that. But I do watch the ones that do it, and I appreciate them tremendously because I'm not a big fan of reading that stuff out loud, like in this type of a setting. We got Laura True Love from Indiana. She's in Indiana saying hi to everybody. That's cool. So good to see everybody. Cool to let us know where you're from. That's kind of neat. You see different people from different parts of the world. We get the Australians and the UK watchers. That's just really cool. I think that's awesome. Thanks, Alex, for those kind words on the surgery. Yeah, I'm optimistic. I know it's a pretty simple surgery, but any surgery's got its risks. And but I'll be anxious to be able to see better. That's for sure. All right. All right. Very good. Well, doing a live here, you guys know, don't put up with any kind of nonsense. So if you're here to, get silly, get trolling, doing that kind of stuff, this is not going to put up with it. We'll just delete you from the chat and put you in a timeout that takes you out of the chat for the night. Oh, we got somebody here from Austin, Texas. Very cool. California. That's awesome. Never been to California. I've heard it's beautiful. I've never been there, though. I would love to visit one day. Not used to doing these on a Friday night. So I thought, you know what? It gets a little different crowd. Later night group. Since my lives are usually in the late afternoons, get a little different crowd. Doing it on Friday because of the holiday weekend. Got something going on tomorrow, and then I got something medically. I got an appointment, which is just crazy. I got an appointment on Saturday of a holiday weekend, but I do in the afternoon, and then I've got some company coming for the holidays on Sunday, so a little hanging out with some friends. So, I thought, well, let's just do this on Friday night instead. And so we'll see if we get a different group in here. So far, I haven't seen anything from anybody here that I'm used to seeing. So I think mission accomplished. A little different crowd here tonight. I got Robert here from Bristol, Washington. That's a bit of a haul. That's a bit of a haul. I've been getting a lot of feedback on these intros I've been working on. I've only got 2 so far, as you guys may have seen on this one. I threw one of them on, but I got another one that's going to be really funny. I just have to sit down and write it out, and then I'm going to play one of the characters, and then I've got another one for somebody to do. And the people that are coming over here on Sunday, this guy would be lights out for the role I want to do. So I think I'll wait and I'll get him to do it, and he'll do it amazingly. And then I'll throw that on here probably early next week. So be on the lookout for another intro. We got Canton, Ohio in the house. That's awesome. Very cool. Just great to see all that. I do like that. So thank you. All right. Remember, if you're watching this, hit that like button. Do it now if you haven't already. It just helps the video get out there to more people. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. These live events usually do bring in some new people. So we got a lot of people here watching that are maybe not subscribers already. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. So if you haven't done that yet, please do, or at least think about it. And then if you're on the replay crew where you can comment, because you can't do the live chat, then comment and let us know, hey, I'm out here. I liked what you said. I didn't like what you said, whatever. It's cool that we don't all agree. We can all watch this video like adults, and we could comment or chat on what's going on and act like adults about it. Don't need to act like kids, being, spiteful and just nasty. That's just, there's no reason for it. There's no reason for it at all. So just leave that stuff out. If you don't, it'll, like I said, it'll get deleted if it's really bad. If it's not that bad, I'll just do it alone. I don't really care. I just don't want it to distract the others that are here for positive reasons with the act of a few that want to be just stupid. So none of that. And given the fact that it's Memorial Day weekend, I want to say, hats off to all those that have fallen in keeping us free. So I appreciate that very much. Not really a festive type holiday, but it kind of has become that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with celebrating the lives of the people that died in the process of trying to keep us free. So whatever your reasons or whatever you're doing, I think it's good to remember the reason why we're doing it is just it's a Memorial Day. And some people have taken that as a Memorial Day for anybody in their life that's passed. And that's fine too. There's nothing wrong with thinking about those people. A lot of those people in our lives were people that were very influential, very necessary. So I think it's good. I think it's good. Whatever it is that you're remembering today, I think it's not a bad thing to just keep them in the forefront. So I got my Fort Hood, Texas. When I was in the Army, that's where I was stationed, Fort Hood. I got my Fort Hood shirt on tonight. And I've had people that like that I tell you what shirts I got on because I got so many of them. The problem is with my injury and my left leg amputation, I can't get up these stairs yet, and all my clothes are up there. So Jenny has to bring them down in like batches. I'm like, okay, I'm wearing the same shirts. I want to wear a different shirt. So she bring in, and it just adds to her nonsense she's got to deal with me. So I try not to ask that too much, but every now and then a little refreshing. But I don't have the full arsenal of my t-shirts is what I'm saying. So I'm trying to make do with it. A lot of people have said that they like the bands that I promote, promoting some bands, that's cool. I used to do a ton of it on the podcast as well as just in real life because I've been involved with bands. I had an organization I ran that I started that was there to support bands, to help the new bands that were trying to get into the scene, to be able to play with different people and different cities around the world, and did all kinds of stuff to try to help new bands as well as existing bands link up with each other. Kind of before it was during the MySpace era, and then was still going on in the beginning of Facebook, but then that kind of took over what a lot of it was doing. So it kind of lost its luster, and so I decided I was just going to stop it, but probably could have kept it going because it was a good thing. But it was called Heavycore. Was just an organization of heavy metal bands. So it was a lot of fun though while I did it. And so yeah, I've always been involved with that sort of thing. So to be able to throw a band name out there to a group of people, not everybody likes metal, I get that, but there's a lot of us that like true crime. So that I figured that for those people, because that's what I am, then there you go. And if you're not into it, that's fine too. I've had fed a few on the intros that says it's too much like a heavy metal thing or whatever, and I don't want to sit and listen to that and this and that. It's just like, man, you could always just fast forward it a few seconds and get through it, but it's only 39 seconds long, so a little longer than I wanted it to be, but I just thought it was too damn funny. And then because the first one I got some gruff from using my screaming voice, I totally threw you for a loop and put my grandson's voice on there when he was 2 years old, which turned out really cute. But we've used that for 7 years on the podcast. So anybody that's listened to the podcast has heard him do that, because that's been the intro since the beginning, since we started 7 years ago, was to use his voice in that intro. So, but the song is a song from my old band called Crawl Space, which is actually about John Wayne Gacy. So true crime related, but that's what the song is about. But the only reason I used it was because of that little musical part that I used, just the no vocals. Just thought it was a good kind of jamming type of intro to kind of get people fired up a little bit. So, all right. Well, very good. I can't think of any other kind of ground rule stuff I wanted to go over. You could ask as many questions or throw in ideas as much as you want. I'll do the best that I can to keep up in the chat. My eyes are still kind of wonky, but I'm making the best of it. I'll get to as many of you as I can. And yeah, I think I'm going to have to pull this up on my phone so I can make this a little easier for me to see it. So give me a sec. As they used to say on Saturday Night Live, talk amongst yourselves. You remember that? Linda Richmond, the coffee lady. I'm drinking coffee. You know, I could do Linda Richmond. And I usually have somebody here in the chat with me that's letting me know what's going on in the Yankee game. I have not done that, so I have no idea. Which is another crazy thing, that I slept through the Yankee game, because normally I got it on. All right. Okay. I'm in the chat. Okay, here's a nice comment. This is the reason I wanted to pull this up on my phone, is it was a longer comment. It was hard for me to see it all. It's from Can You See? And I think I can put this. Okay, I can't put this one on because I could see it a little bit. I think everyone should like the intro, because that's part of who you are and why I like it, because it's different. That's cool. Thank you very much. Can you see? That is very nice of you to say. I like doing the intros. They're fun. I like goofing off. I like having some fun, but it's tough with this hanging, looming cloud of true crime. I mean, it is pretty tough to be pleasant and uplifting when you're talking about some of the most gruesome stuff that there is, right? So it's tough sometimes. Here she is, Catherine S., always a huge supporter of Murder Metal Mayhem. Looking here, talking about the Esty situation. I've been told that just mentioning that guy's name gets videos banned, so I really am a little leery about getting into it. But he's one of the owners of 1122 King, and he's got some. Oh, Yankees are winning 1-0. Thank you, Donna. Excellent. She's on the case. I didn't know, Donna, since it was a later, different day of the week live, that you'd be here. So thank you very much. And of course, Catherine S. So I guess I'm catching this one in the middle. I'm not exactly sure, Catherine. I think you're responding to somebody else, so that may be why I'm not totally getting it. But he's the one that owned it. A lot of suspicion around that guy, lots of suspicion. And then wound up giving it to the university. And that was kind of weird, right? He just gives this $1 million building to the university, just like, I don't need it. And so, a lot of people have wondered what's the deal with that. And he was the owner of the Elantra that they found in Eugene, Oregon. And that was owned by a woman that worked for him. So she bought the car from him, but odd that a car that he had just previously sold ends up somewhat tied into this crime. Allegedly. Because some believe, and I definitely think so, that car came from that camera that we see. Excuse me, it's fizzy water. Makes it, the fizzy gets kind of crazy. Cherry limeade tonight is the flavor. So that car that got caught on that mobile gas station camera, or at least that's what they're claiming, some believe, and I'm one of them, that I think that's the car that ends up in Eugene, Oregon. I think that's the one. 3:45 was the time on that camera that caught that car. Not sure what that car had to do with this. Don't know if maybe that's the car that they've caught on the cameras that they're tending to think is the same car, or maybe they don't think it's the same car, but they want us to think it's the same car. I don't know. I know damn well they're going to want some jurors to think it's the same car, but it's not. That one's got a sunroof, I think, on it, if I'm thinking correctly. But that's the car, I think, that ends up in Oregon. Days later, on the side of the road, kind of partly wrecked. Just weird, right? So damn weird. Everything about this case is so weird. I mean, this is like going into the Twilight Zone, and been in the Twilight Zone for a while, but my gosh. Got Alex Havera here saying he's watching the Yankees too. Very cool. Thank you, Alex. Linda Pisaturo. I love the last name there. The Italian last names are great. Linda, awesome. You're there watching the game. And yeah, Catherine said she was talking to someone in chat. I kind of figured so, Catherine. I saw your name, so I wanted to give you props. Judith here says, do not stop your introduction. I will not stop the introduction. I'm going to keep doing them, and I just think that they're funny. So when they stop being funny, I guess I'll stop doing it. But I've been known, I mean, some people have said, I am known to keep a joke going till like it's so overdone that then that becomes the joke. That I'm that guy. I have a lot of inside jokes I do with my family, and I'm sure that, they're just like, really, with you with this? I mean, like, we've been joking around this for 20 years, and I just still find it really funny, and so I'll just keep doing it. One thing I used to do with my kids when they were little, this is just random thought, but to illustrate the point. When my kids were little, I got two kids, rotated who did the main chores, which one was dishes, always. Okay, that's the big one in the house. And then the other one was doing like trash to the curb, dealing with little stuff outside, picking up, helping me pick up, or my wife and I pick it up in the house, that kind of stuff. And so every year at Christmas, whoever's turn it happened, because we rotated it, so you didn't always get stuck on dishes. You got a little option. Whoever's turn it was at the time Christmas was going on, I would buy them a gift that was related to the chore. So, for example, the person on dishes might get a nice, you know, scrubber set, or some new scratchy cleaning pads, or maybe a nice fragrance of dish soap. And I'd put it together in a little box and wrap it. And of course, they thought it was ridiculous and like, you're just an ass, Dad, whatever. But that's me. And then the person on garbage detail might get a nice container of those scented garbage bags, that kind of thing. Just having a little fun with it. And of course, it was really obnoxious because it had been going on year after year. And so I do that. All right, I'm looking here. Somebody's got a comment here. Yeah, I saw another creator bring this up, Tracy. She says, oops, left off Steve G being a patsy for dismissal, or if BK found guilty, or mistrial. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. I don't know. Something's off with that guy. Something is just off with him. When I've talked about this in regard to being an author and trying to take a story, like when you're writing a novel, let's say, and you have obviously all these characters doing all these different things, sometimes those things don't make sense in the story. So then you have to retract and go, wait a second, I need to do something different here. This doesn't make any sense that she would be doing that if he was doing this. So then it's like, okay, the reader's not going to believe that. It doesn't make sense. So let me reconfigure it. So I back up a little bit and then I put a little different spin on it so that they're not doing those things at the same time. They're doing them, let's just say, one after the other, or whatever the scenario is. It really doesn't make any difference. But using those skills in this case, or any case, this isn't the first time I've thought this way, is to look at a case where we don't know exactly what happened. I mean, we could sit here and surmise and throw ideas in there, and that's what makes this fun and interesting. But we could take those concepts and put them into a true crime case and think, what logically happened here? What happened here? And what can we glean from it? Is there any information that maybe we could come up with, a likely suspect in light of that idea? And then you kind of bat it around and you see what makes sense. And I've thrown out a lot of ideas. You guys know it that have been following me. I've thrown out some ideas that probably some people think I'm nuts, throwing out some of the ideas that I have. And they can think that. I really don't care. Because that's what makes this interesting. To me, that's what makes this interesting, is different ideas. And yeah, some of them could be kind of wild, but that doesn't mean that they're any less valid in the fact of throwing the idea out there so that people start thinking about something a different way. That's the thing. So yeah, so I think that's why I like doing these lives. I like the spontaneity of it, back from when I used to sing in the band, getting heckled, back in the message board days, getting just brutalized sometimes in the message boards by people that were just being jerks, didn't like the band for some reason and just wanted to be jerks about it, And, in the early days that would bother me, but now it doesn't. I think it's funny. I mean, I've actually thought about doing an entire episode or a video on nothing but the negative stuff, just to make fun of it. might be fun to do one day. But get somebody here from Boston, Massachusetts. Boston. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you. You guys, it's funny, being a Yankee fan, Boston, it's like the crucifix, singeing my skin is that Boston logo. But I've got a lot of friends that are Boston fans, so it's all good. It's all good. Those friends and me, we have we get on each other pretty good about that Yankee Boston rivalries. So those are always fun discussions. But yeah, the one thing I did a video here. The last one I did, it actually did really bad. I saw in the number of views. I don't know why, because I thought it was an interesting topic. But the fact that Ann Taylor is bringing up this idea of needing more time and not starting the trial in August. I'm curious what you guys thought about that, because obviously we want the trial to start like tomorrow. That would be awesome. Would think about doing the trial as soon as possible, because all of us are dying to know what happened. What are we going to find out, right? We're going to be, I just can't even get over how exciting that's going to be once that starts, especially knowing it will be televised. Unfortunately, though, we've heard that they're not going to put Dylan and Bethany on video, which that really sucks, because that was one of the main things I'm sure that all of us wanted to see, was those two explained. Oh, is Huda here? I saw somebody said, "Hey, Huda London." Wondering if she's actually here. If she is, welcome, Huda. That's awesome. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Huda London. I like her. I'll tell you, I don't know how many times I've said it, and I'll keep saying it because it's the truth. Huda London and Bubbly Waters killing it with some of the detail stuff on the band, the Grub truck, which is just tremendous. I mean, we can sit here. I'm looking to just throw out ideas with you guys tonight. I didn't have a set list of what I was going to cover. So I wanted to kind of give you guys the floor and let you come up with ideas, and I'll kind of riff off of that. But just talking about what I mentioned, what do you guys think about the possibility of this trial not starting as planned in August? I mean, do you think that that's going to help or hurt Brian Koberger's defense? I mean, obviously that gives them more time, but on the flip side, that also gives the prosecution more time, right? So, it could be a bad thing. And as I posed in that video I did, what about the idea of, had he gone for a speedy trial, what would have been the difference in how things played out with a speedy trial, is, I think, something to think about, right? Because what if we would have done this trial at April of last year or something like that? I mean, they would have had oh, I do see Huda in there. Oh, and she is a fan of me. Well, awesome, Huda. I've been hoping to see you in one of these chats here, so that's just absolutely fantastic. Huda's amazing. Anytime I've done anything on the Grub truck and the band field, she's my go-to, because, and it's funny, Huda, because you and I are one of the few that went to the mat about them watching something on those phones at just after 2:00 and then just before 3, which is, I think, when these things happened in their own right. And I've been a huge in huge agreement with Huda's stuff. So if you're watching this and you're not familiar with Huda London, I strongly suggest you go check her out. If I would have known Huda was going to be here, I would have had a pre-set up banner at the bottom to drive you to her channel, but it's HOUDA and then London, and you should be able to find her. But she's great, and she's got a lot of good stuff out there to check out. So that's really cool. So yeah, I think that we can wonder about what would have happened had he gone for the speedy trial. I mean, that would have been interesting. Now I got thinking about it, and in my video I brought up two examples. One would be one that took forever to show up in the courts, and that would have been the Lori Vallow case. That went on for a while. And then one that happened very quickly, which I didn't realize it at the time because I followed it like most of the world, but I don't know if I remember that conversation coming up about a reason why it was, sped up maybe as a tactic. And I think in that case, it probably was O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson trial was 7 months after the crimes. That's fast. Now, did they do that for a reason? I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think that, again, using it in the Kohberger case, would that have been to his advantage to do it that way? And I guess hindsight's always 20/20, so we can look at the situation from that side of it and say, well, I mean, geez, they would have caught the prosecution with their pants down, in essence, So to me, that probably would have been the way to go here. Would have been to push the speedy trial and just make them prove something. The downside of that is, think about it, we wouldn't have probably had Cy Ray. And to me, Cy Ray is like the ace in the hole. I mean, the closer, to use a baseball analogy, right? The closer to come in and just annihilate, because all we got to prove, and I say we as in the defense, all the defense has to prove is that Brian Kohberger was not at 1122 King Road from 4:05 a.m. to 4:20 a.m. If they can prove he was somewhere other than that place at that time, he's free. That's all they have to do. So they have really, really painted themselves in the corner with this ridiculous timeline. And I just mentioned, there's those of us, the creators, that feel it happened earlier. I know Huda has gone on her channel and said she thinks that Ethan and Xana were attacked just after 2 a.m. I agree with her wholeheartedly. Why do we agree that that's the time? Well, I've been mentioning the Grub truck. You go look at that Grub truck video. Okay. That's the Twitch live feed from the truck that night. You could see Kaylee and Maddie show up. You could see Katie and Maddie in line, and a little exchange with Joe Vito and Showalter and some of those guys. I haven't forgotten about Joe Vito. I definitely think I want to do a video on Joe Vito because I think that he's somewhat suspicious here. I know Huda and Bubbly Waters have both suggested that as well. But you could see these interactions. It's fascinating knowing that these girls are going to be gone in less than an hour. I mean, it's really heartbreaking at the same time, right? But you could see all of it. And then you could see what happens when they leave. And that's where I think the real interesting stuff comes in regard to the fight, because then It's just after 2 a.m. The girls have gone. They left at about quarter till. So you're watching the crowd come and go and ordering food, and there's just some interesting things going on there. And then one of those interesting things is a group kind of in the background of the video, close to the storefronts that were there along the road, huddling around like a group of the phones. So like they were all watching the same thing. And they're cheering. They're calling out Xana's name. I mean, it's unmistakable. I mean, I don't know, if there's been any accusations of that audio being doctored. I guess if that were the case, then that could be a source. I haven't heard that though. I wasn't aware that there was anything altered with that, at least that part of the audio there, but they're chanting her name. Now, why in the world would you chant Xana's name at 2:10 a.m. or 2:05, whatever it was, just after 2 o'clock, and everybody's huddled around a phone? I mean, that to me seems like kind of obvious of why they were doing it, that there was some kind of fight going on. And I think, and we've heard the rumors of the Fight Club, and that was, one of the things that they talked about was that these kids at this university did this Fight Club thing, and it was just something that they like to do. I mean, it seems to be an underbelly of violence at this university that's really quite scary. I mean, it's nuts. These people go to college to kind of, pursue their academic interests and to, meet people and experience that life of the partying and all that. And it's like, and then you go there and you're getting all dark with this. And especially the fact that the people that were doing this kind of stuff predominantly, allegedly, were these rich kids at the university, the ones in the frats and the sororities, and that's kind of strange. Why would somebody with all that money, I mean, why would you do this stuff? I mean, are you that bored? I could think of a true crime case in Chicago of this very thing. I want to see if anybody that's a true crime fan can guess what case I'm talking about. I'm going to see if I can give you a couple of clues because that's kind of random, but Chicago. I don't know the exact date, but I'm thinking mid 20th century, early to mid 20th century, and that they were two males, but their thing was that they were both very wealthy. One wealthier than the other, but they were both very wealthy. And it was said that they did it as more of a thrill kill type thing. Just curious if anybody picks up on who that was, because I immediately jumps to my mind whenever the okay, I like this one. I'm going to star this one. Since I want to go over that one as part of this discussion, but not right at this moment. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of reasons people do stuff like this. And if this wasn't a thing that the frats and the sorority girls did, could have been just this super dark world that they put themselves in for whatever reason, that they wanted to be. Here we go. Here's the right answer. Very good, Missy Go Lightly 26. Missy Go Lightly 26. I wish they would have arranged a contest for this because this is a good one. What case in the mid 20th century or early 20th century involving two men in Chicago, young men, that did a crime for the thrill of it? They were both wealthy. Why would they do this? Why? They could have done anything they wanted to, right? They could have they had all the money. They could have gone wherever they wanted to. They could have ate wherever they wanted to eat. But no, these two fools decide to go snatch up this boy from the street and do awful things. And it's Leopold and Loeb. That's a good one. I know we did a podcast on Leopold and Loeb. So if you're interested in that case, you're not familiar, and you want to hear, I'm not the only one on the podcast. There's three of us, so there's multiple people talking. But I'm the one kind of running the show. If you haven't heard the podcast before, the language is rough. The humor is very dark. So if that's not your thing, don't go watch that or listen, because you won't like it. But if you like that if you're okay with that kind of stuff, then that's your jam. So very good though, Missy. That was what I was thinking about. So good job reading my mind, which could be kind of a scary prospect, but very good. See, you got a super chat here. Joanne Murdoch, super sticker, $1.99. Thank you very much, Joanne. That's very nice of you. I definitely could use that, because I bought it preemptively because I knew that I just needed it, was a new laptop. So, got the new laptop, ordered and got it. I was going to use it tonight. My plan this afternoon was to get the new laptop set up and everything good to at least try to do a live with it, and to see if the camera looked better than this camera. And so never really quite achieved that goal. Obviously was asleep like Rip Van Winkle, but thankfully my wife got up and was like, "Hey, you got a live going on." And so again, I can't help but apologize for that one. That was really dumb. But thank you. That helps take care of the new laptop. But it's basically the same one as the one I got, which is an HP. Not plug-in HP or anything. That's what I've been using for the last several years. And I like the 17-inch monitor, and they have this same one I've got, just a model newer with some new stuff, bigger space and all that. And it's the same laptop, so I don't have to relearn a different, way of doing things. So yeah, I've got it. I just haven't used it yet, but I'm anxious to. So these next few videos, you'll see a different camera. I've got an external. I just don't like using it when the internal was so much better. I mean, the quality of it was just really good. It just started flaking out and had the, just started flaking out on me, and I can't have it cutting out in the middle of, especially a live. Oh, here's a super chat. All right, Huda, thank you very much. She gifted 5 Murder Metal Mayhem memberships. So that is amazing. Thank you, Huda. That's very kind of you to do that. I'm telling you guys, go check out Huda London. I'm so excited that Huda is here with us tonight. And I'm curious, Huda, what do you think about some of this new stuff going on with the trial? And, will they make them start on August 11th, or will it go out further? Are we just going to sit here and freak out at how long it's going to take if they extend it out even further? I'd be curious to see what you think about it. And here's oh my gosh, Susan Wood, a super chat of $49.99. My gosh, that's the biggest super chat I've ever gotten. I always wonder when I watch people do lives and they get these very large amounts of super stickers and stuff, and that's the most I've ever gotten. So thank you so much, Susan. That's very, very kind of you. and the Huda for doing the gifted membership. So awesome. Appreciate that very much. But yeah, the Leopold and Loeb, the thrill kill. I mean, is that why those frat kids would do something like this? Or was it because of the, the rug angle? Is that the thing? Is that why they were doing what they were doing? Because you're talking about an organization that just permeates the entire fabric of the college life, right? The sororities, the fraternities. I mean, very, very almost evil type organizations with some of the things that they've done. I mean, I don't need to sit here and make them look bad. They've done that themselves. I mean, if all we were going to look at was the University of Idaho, we could throw out all kinds of examples of things that the frats have done that have been very dark, right? We had Hudson Lindau. That's the gleaming example, right? Hudson, bright kid, ends up face down in a couple inches of water at Paradise Creek, only a few months before the crimes at 1122 King. So did they have anything to do with each other? I don't know. Some people have said it was a waterboarding. And I've heard some names mentioned in that waterboarding that I thought were surprising because I hadn't heard this particular individual's name mentioned in any of that kind of stuff until very recently. So it could be just somebody throwing out suggestions, but Hunter Johnson's name coming up in that. And the fact that the frat that I had down as Hunter was part of was not Sigma Chi, but yet there was all this activity right before this stuff happened. And he was there pictured with and hanging out with all these guys from Sigma Chi. We know that, Ethan Chapin was Sigma Chi. So could that have had something to do with it? Could it have been the type of thing where he maybe went against the grain with his own frat? Or maybe it was a combination of the two and Hunter was just kind of the one that was friends with both. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas. I see here cheat code saying Hunter is connected somehow. I think so too. I mean, I've said it before with Hunter. I mean, this guy was constantly at that house. I mean, every video we saw, right, of the house and the cops showing up with the body cam. And here he is, boom, he's right there opening the door, talking to the cops. Then there's the one where the cops show up in the day of a noise complaint or something, and it couldn't have been quieter there at 1122 King Road. And here's Kaylee coming out of the house, and there he is, Hunter Johnson once again. He's hanging out, plops himself down there on the couch while the cops are talking to Kaylee, as if he was there to make sure that nothing was said. I've always thought he seemed to have some sort of tie to the whole situation, like he was there to make sure that everything went smooth, that everything went as it was supposed to go. So that's kind of what I think about that. Let's see here. He's the only one who's known to have a knife, and the four bodies are there at the same time. Yeah. I mean, I've heard those accusations. I did a video on that, which got quite a lot of views. So I think that means that, there's a lot of other people thinking the same thing, that were watching it with curious eyes, of what was going on. But can you see, I don't know if that's a play on the, what was his name? Brent Kopaka. I can see you, or can you see me, or something like that. But can you see, says he's the only one known to have a knife in his hand with four dead bodies in the same house. So yeah, it's the one we know of. So was he called over to finish them off, one or a couple of them? That's an interesting question. I know that's what I did in my video, was pose the question of, is that what took 8 hours? Is for one of them to pass? They knew that they couldn't call 911 before they passed, because if that were the case, then they would have been able to get them help, and they may not have passed. And then we know that if they didn't pass, then the obvious issue would have been, then they're probably going to talk. And that would have been the big problem, is if they were going to talk, they were going to say who did this, or at least who they thought did this in the night with the struggle in the dark room. I mean, I'm sure that was difficult. So I don't know. But it is interesting to wonder, is that why they called him over there? We all know it wasn't to open the door. Door was already open. That was the original thing, right? For the longest time, they called over big, strong Hunter Johnson to help him open the door. And then we come to find out there's multiple mentions of them being able to see Xana on the floor of her bedroom. And so obviously the door was already open. And we know from the ridiculous 911 call, where they're just up there playing this out like it's unfolding, during the call, which was kind of stupid of them to do that, because then that really pins down times and places. They should have just done it as a reaction to what they had seen, and then we could have argued, when did they see it? But when they're doing it the way they're doing it, it just puts an actual time on it. But yeah, I don't agree with that. But while we were talking here, Huda chimed in with a comment, and I wanted to bring it up to you guys, but so I wasn't missing it. So here's what Huda had to say. And she says, I believe that Hannah Cleary's brother and friend were involved. They were at the Grub truck with a white Hyundai Elantra. The college students were saying it at the beginning. Interesting. I have not looked into Hannah's brother, but there would certainly be a potential axe to grind there with him in light of what happened to Hannah. So that's what I was talking about with Hunter Lindau. You had, Hannah Cleary's passing, which was officially noted as a self-harm type situation. And there's a lot of people that say that that's not true. I do know that there was something about, that there was people talking about oh, I lost my train of thought there for a second. That Hannah Cleary, that there was some sort of suspicious activity going on, and that she was actually, murdered and not, did that to herself. I'm not sure. I know that her father has gone on the record. I've seen, tweets and different things he did where he said, look, we looked at the records, we talked with the police. We do feel firmly that they're right, that this was just an accident. She didn't mean to do this. It was an accidental, self-harm type situation. She just took too many of these cold medicine pills or sleeping pills or whatever it was, and that's why it happened. And it's just unfortunate, but we don't feel anybody's did anything wrong here. But I don't know. Hannah was a very smart girl. She had been bullied. We know from what we've read that she was bullied. Some say by Maddie. Some say by Maddie and Kaylee. I'm sure a lot of those girls, looking like they looked, would have picked on a girl that looked like Hannah. Hannah was just a very plain looking girl. Nothing wrong with that. she was pretty in her own right. I mean, not every guy thinks that girls that bleach their hair and do what those girls there did at King is is what they're looking for. Okay, there's someone for everybody, and I'm sure Hannah would have eventually found that. It's just unfortunate the way things went down, right? But the college girls could be rough, and I'm sure in these sorority types that like to chalk down to people, and like we even saw it at the Grub truck, right? Those girls were totally dissing on Kaylee and Maddie, right? They weren't they weren't saying hello to them. I mean, these are girls that they would have months before have said they were sisters, sorority sisters, and now they're kind of blowing them off there at the Grub truck. So there's something to be said for that. Something to be said for it. And then to be chanting Xana's name at just after 2:00 makes you wonder what was going on. Well, as Huda points out, that there was somebody, potentially doing some bad things at just after 2:00 when it comes to Xana and Ethan, because you hear them being chanted and all this other stuff, and you hear them chant, going yeah and stuff like you would say when you're watching a fight. They weren't watching like a rerun of the Golden Girls. Okay, they were watching like a UFC style fight based on the way they were reacting. And when we think about that in context of these crimes, that's really horrific. And I got all kinds of flack for posting that. I think that there was some sort of live broadcast of this, because then there was the thing, you remember, that came up with 400 potential witnesses, and people were like, what, 400? Where are these people coming from? And that's what first gave me the idea. Now, I do not think that this was broadcast to 400 people. I do think that the broadcast group was somewhat tight, because you couldn't just have everybody watching it, or certainly there would have been somebody going to the police. But if you kept it within your sick group of people, just Greek row, let's say, that people are used to, keeping secrets, and then all of a sudden there's all these $6 Venmo payments going crazy, back and forth, Venmo payments. I mean, were they all paying each other back for, Burger King that day? I don't know. Or Taco Bell, whatever. I don't know. But why would they all be for $6? So what were they selling, or what was being transacted at $6 amidst all of this stuff? Well, it doesn't take a genius to think, well, maybe that was what they were paying to do a live stream of the fight. I don't know. Makes you wonder, right? Old Jack Katovich there. You're talking about the Jacks, right? Jack Decor. Everybody talks about Jack Decor, of course, being the ex of Kaylee Gonzalez, only by, a few, less than a month. And he certainly had all kinds of motive to do something like this if he was that upset at her leaving him and the dog, taking the dog with her. It's certainly possible. And then you got, Jack Showalter, okay, the hoodie guy from the Grub truck. Hang on. I didn't mean to go through this. I'm trying to get these all off the screen. Thank you, though, those of you that did that. Huda, very, very cool comments. And Susan Wood for that nice super chat. But I see here Diane Hilbert says, she thought it was Jack D right away. I think a lot of people would. I mean, that's the smart money. I mean, anybody, I mean, we're here in a group, okay, that follow true crime. Okay. I'm the same way. My wife and I totally addicted to it. Okay. And we like talking about this, you know, from, from the, from the perspective of who makes the most sense. Well, always, um, Jack D with and having that angle of the X, right? That always is the first place they look. The first place they look is the X, right? No matter what your story is, they're going to go through it and exhaust it to the ends of the earth, because the most likely the Occam's razor choice of the day is always going to be who is the current or former ex of the victim. And Jack D, living right next to him, and then mysteriously not hearing his phone called repeatedly by those girls in the moments before the passing. I think what was going on was they were hearing. So they came home from the Grub truck just at 2, and they were up there in Maddie's room, maybe Kaylee's room, maybe a little of both, eating their food, finishing up their food, talking about the night. And then all of a sudden there's all this ruckus they hear downstairs, so they're kind of freaking out. And who do they call? They call Jack Decor. They start calling him just before 2:30. So that lines up with what I'm thinking, and I know what Huda London has said too, and others, that this started happening right after, 2:10, 2:15, somewhere in there. This would make sense. Now it spills into the house. And now they're hearing all this noise and screaming and everything else. And so they're freaking out, and they don't know what else to do other than to call Jack. So there would have had to have been a reason why they wouldn't have called the police. And our choices are pretty limited. Choice A would be that for some reason, when they manufacture phones for anybody that lives in Moscow, Idaho, that you're unable to call the police with the phone. It's just physically incapable of calling the police. Now, I'm just goofing around, but isn't it weird? I mean, why would your first instinct would be to call Jack instead of the police? And that would be that if you thought the police were in on it. Because if the police weren't involved in this, that's going to be everybody's go-to, is call the police, right? They're going to call the police. Something's going down, calling the cops, okay? Even people that don't like police will call the police in an emergency. But instead, they call Jack. Now, I know that there's some people, Michael Addario from Michael Addario Photography, great channel here on YouTube, check him out. He thinks that it was a stingray being used by law enforcement. A stingray is used when they're doing some sort of bust, or they're going to do some sort of operation where they want to freeze, the cell phone activity and keep people away from being able to broadcast out from a particular residence. What if that was the case? Now, I don't know if I've ever heard or watched an account of Jack's phone being analyzed, but I know I've heard Kaylee's phone being analyzed, that these calls were going out. But just because the calls went out doesn't mean that they didn't get sucked up into this stingray type thing that law enforcement uses all the time. And we do know that there were a lot of agents in town supposedly for some sort of operation going on involving narcotics and some of that stuff. And then months after this, there was that biggest bust in Washington state history that went on involving like 20 plus upper level people in that business getting scooped up. Makes you wonder if that's what they were there to do, kind of doing something in conjunction to that prior to it happening. So I don't know. But it does make you wonder here. And Huda is chiming in again here. See if I get this to show up. No. Okay. Yeah, my eyes are betraying me here. Here we go. Huda says, I believe they didn't call the police because Bethany Funk was dealing, and her Venmos are evidence, allegedly. Okay, well, I remember seeing, that's interesting you say that, Huda, because I remember seeing something about her Venmo payments and things like Coke behind whatever convenience store they had there. And I'm thinking, who would be stupid enough to put in a Venmo payment comment something like that? Coke behind whatever this convenience store was. I have not seen that stuff since. So I wonder if that's what's part of this. What Huda's talking about is that those things were kept there to to keep people guessing, right? They were there, then they're not. So you're like, did I make is my mind playing tricks on me? Do I think I saw that? Instead of it being just a fact, don't know. But that is interesting. And I have heard that Bethany Funk was the one that was potentially doing the business side of it. It would also make sense that may be how she got herself, somehow kept away from all the mess legally, is that she agreed to turn some people in to work with the police as like a confidential informant. Certainly possible. Would certainly explain why her name doesn't seem to be dragged in, but yet Dylan Mortensen's name is all over that PCA about the ridiculous nonsense of the frozen shock phase, and now we've heard about all the text messages, and it just keeps changing. And those of us that thought the two of them were involved in it in some way are just like sitting here going, yeah, no crap. We've been saying this for years, that these two were somehow involved in it, but now that's just kind of trickling out there. It's really interesting that's how it's going down. But very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm trying to okay, there we go. So thank you, Huda, for your contributions here tonight. Just dropping in your comments and stuff. And anybody else, I mean, we're loving the all sorts of people in here that are not the usual crowd I would have in a live. A little bit of a smaller group, but like I said, with the holiday weekend, I really wasn't sure what I was going to get with numbers of people. People have plans. People traveling, maybe. People so tired, after work that they just don't want to do a live. I get that. I usually keep my lives to an hour and a half or less. So we're coming up on the last 15 minutes or so. So I'm going to wind it down, but we're still going to stay on. I just like to keep with that because I don't want to get in the habit of going way over. And then, I mean, while I enjoy talking to you guys, and it's really great that Huda has decided to stop in, but I just try to keep to the hour and a half. So we'll do that. And then hopefully we've gained some new friends here tonight, some new subscribers. So again, I'll take that opportunity to mention, if you haven't liked the live stream yet, please do. If you're not a subscriber, please consider doing that. We also have a membership here at the channel called the Horns High Club. So those that are in the Horns High Club, I appreciate that. We've got a few of them here tonight, I know. We had Donna Lembo, Catherine S. These are people that are huge supporters of the channel, and it's only $1.99. And currently I'm doing a live, members only lives with the membership the first weekend of the month. So we got one coming up here next week where I'll be doing a members only live with the membership. So if you're interested in doing a members only with me, I did one where there were so few of us, I was offered to call people up and come on the video with me, which would be fun. We could talk about all sorts of stuff, whatever you want, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be Idaho 4. It could be about a movie you liked, or a documentary you watched, or a true crime case you just heard about. I'm open to suggestions. I love true crime, so I love talking about it. On the podcast, we do solved cases. On the channel, I do the current cases. So you guys are used to seeing me talk about Idaho 4, but on the podcast, we talk about all the past ones, Gacy and Dahmer and Bundy and H.H. Holmes and Chikatilo and all of them. I mean, geez, name them one after the other. And then we'll do different themed months, like moms on Mother's Day. We do a month of just nothing but notorious moms. We've done Rose West and, just Eileen Warnos. I mean, we've done some just horrific female killers on there too. And then we'll do some old school stuff like Elizabeth Bathory, going way back in the day. Talking about those characters, were they true or were they kind of manufactured over time to be these legendary, Gita Ray would be another one like that. This just crazy high body count, 600-700, almost seems unbelievable, but we talk about those cases. Leopold and Loeb, we talked about that here tonight. Go to Australia and talk about crimes in Australia, which I love talking about that, because those are crimes that are interesting too. We've got we got somebody here as a new member, Laura True Love, new member of the Horns High Club. Welcome, Laura, for that. That's awesome. Thank you very much. I'm just skimming these two while I'm talking, but we've got, here we got a super chat. Kim Young, $10 super chat. Thank you very much. Says, stay healthy. Love your channel. Well, thank you very much, Kim. Very nice of you to say. Health-wise, I'm doing pretty good. Getting ready to get this eye surgery done. I just had a physical at the VA just yesterday or the day before. Everything's good. Blood pressure's solid. Of all the medical drama I've had happen, my blood pressure is fantastic. So doing the best that I can be doing, and then getting in touch with the prosthetic people to get this prosthetic built for my leg. And then once they measure me up, they start getting it made. And then in the meantime, I get a loaner and I can use it to start learning how to walk and put it on. And then they also have to give you what's called a stump shrinker, which is just what it says. It's almost like a sock, but it goes over the stump and it helps make it cone shaped to fit into the prosthetic better. So it takes the swelling down, keeps the swelling down. And as time goes on, the swelling has continuously gone down with this leg, but it'll help get it in the shape it needs to get in to be able to get the prosthetic on. And my plan is to get a prosthetic if I can, to get one that looks mechanical, like gears and maybe wires or something kind of cool looking. My grandson would like that. He's 9, and he would definitely like that. And then get it to where my stump is tattooed with flames going up my leg, so the prosthetic would be like the source, and then you got like this like torch flame going on. And of course my doctor just rolling his head going, man, you're just nuts. But he loves it. He's got a great sense of humor as well. But that's the plan, is to get the prosthetic ordered and then start learning how to walk with it. Luckily I've got a place not very far from my house where I could go for physical therapy with the uneven bars and stuff and learn how to walk with the prosthetic, which is what they recommend, instead of trying to do it in your house, which would be kind of, I mean, I live in an old house. There's just not all these big open spaces. They're just individual rooms. So it'd be a little harrowing to try to learn how to walk on one of those in here, I would think. But we'll see, I guess. But yeah, thanks for all the super chats and stuff tonight. You guys have been amazing. I've never had so many of them in a live I've ever done. So I just don't know what else to say, but thank you so much. So yeah, there's if you guys have any suggestions of any Idaho 4 topics you'd like me to do this coming week, shoot them down below in a chat, or if you're watching this on the replay, drop them in the comments. I'm curious because I'm starting to not run out of ideas, but I'm starting to question, am I pushing something too far? Like I said, I had that one video I did yesterday really bombed, and I'm not sure what it was about it other than, I don't know. I mean, it's weird, but I really had a low number of views on that one, and it involved the court and potentially delaying the trial. Maybe people figured they already knew about it, so they didn't watch it. I don't know. But if you guys have, you guys have ideas of something that you want to, me to talk about, I'd love to hear it. Maybe one thing we could do would be really cool, try to tie it in, would be to have me and Huda London do a video together. That would be kind of cool. We could do some Grub Truck or some Banfield. That would be an honor to do one with Huda. That would be cool. And I don't know exactly where you're located, Huda, but if you're within, I mean, we're doing this now and you're awake wherever you are. So, there's, I'm sure a way to do it. I've done videos with people from Australia, and that's the goofiest with the 15-hour time difference here. And yeah, the Banfield and Saeed are huge. I agree. I think your videos on it. I've done a true crime deep cuts. If you want to see my version, I also talk about Huda in that one too. It's in my series called True Crime Deep Cuts. There's a playlist for it. You can watch what I think about the Banfield. To me, the Banfield was happening at the exact time that these crimes happened on King Road. Okay, because the Banfield video, the police body cam, Moscow police, the body cam started at like 250 something. So if you think about it, that was the last call to Jack DeCour. Then you have Saeed, which is the bushy eyebrows guy. just walking into the situation. It looks ridiculously staged. And then you got the 3 that get stopped for illegal drinking. I mean, these 3 looked as sober could be. I don't know what in the world their deal was getting scooped up in this. It just seemed, the whole thing seemed staged. And then at 3:12 a.m., you see the silhouettes of 4 people running in the background from King Road toward the Sigma Chi or Greek Row at 3:12 a.m. Now, if you think about it, I've talked about this many times. I know some people hear the name and they just cringe because they don't want to hear about it. But the messages, the anonymous messages on the 4chan website, what does that 4chan poster say? That it took 19 minutes, and that includes the walk to King Road and back. Okay, so let's go back to the Banfield. You got 2:56 or whatever, or 2:55, whatever it starts, and you add 19 minutes to that, and you're right in there at them running by at 3:12. Now, is that coincidence that the Banfield video runs about 19 minutes? I mean, isn't that a very random segment of time? 19 minutes. Why not 20? Somebody was there with a damn stopwatch, like it was a game. Like maybe that's what the Venmo payments were for, how long it took. Remember, one of those Venmo payments made the night before. So the 12th, the night before, from Molly Gray, said 3:30 a.m. in the memo of the Venmo payment. What does that mean? Was that just where she was going to meet her that night after it happened? Was she throwing in a suggestion of a time that it was going to happen so she would, be on the board for the 3:30 a.m. spot? I don't know, but that's certainly very suspicious. Did they investigate all this stuff? I don't know. I doubt it. Something tells me that I doubt that they would have done that, but they should have. They should have. And who received that Venmo payment of the 3:30 a.m. came from Molly Gray to Jack Katovich. Remember the third Jack I mentioned to you? His sister, Liz Katovich. She was there in the mix with all this stuff too. So she was somehow involved in these Venmo payments. But we don't know why the Venmo payments were made. But I'm just saying, in light of the Fight Club thing, it makes you wonder. It certainly makes you wonder. And these are things that, like I said, with some of this stuff I've done and some of the other great creators out there doing work, that's how they're looking at it too. So I'm not the only one. And as I said, I give credit where credit's due. And I've mentioned Huda and Bubbly Waters and some of the ones that I've watched. Harsh Reality. I mean, there's some really good channels out there. A.R. Hayes, A Convict's Thoughts, Lucky with Unfiltered Lucky. Those guys don't get so much into the Grub Truck or the Banfield videos. But I do. I think there's a lot there, and I think Huda's comment about this and Jack and Saeed certainly makes you wonder what his involvement may have been, because he said he was coming from a party at Matt's house. So who's Matt? Well, we don't know it for sure, but there was a Matt Moy that lived behind the girls up on that hill. Remember the guy that lived in that small house up on the hill, had a perfect view of the backyard from his back deck? Apparently liked to take pictures. Very suspicious. Up and leaves right after this happened to South Dakota, joined the Air Force. Went up working in South Dakota. So he's another one that got up and left real quick when this happened. So, well, very good. Let's see here. If anybody's got any last parting shots, like I said, if you think of any Idaho 4 topics you'd like me to cover in videos, drop them in the comments or leave them in the chat. I'll look at them later. But I would like to know what you guys think about some of this stuff, because I would like to target videos to what you guys want to see, and hoping that we get, better responses. Because like I said, the last one I did didn't do real well, which is uncommon for my Idaho 4 videos. So it may have just been the topic I picked. And very big thanks to Huda London for joining us here tonight in the chat. Was not expected. Had I known, I would have billed it of Murder, Metal, Mayhem and Huda London and could have got Huda on the live. I don't know if you do lives, Huda, but that would be fun one time, is to maybe do a live together. We could do one on a Friday night if that seems to work good for your schedule. And again, I'm not sure where you're located, so I'm not sure the time zone, but that would be, what would be a lot of fun. I think the viewers would probably like that. So, but again, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Thank you all for coming in. Remember, why we celebrate Memorial Day is the memory of those who served, that died in the process. So we could do stuff like this. Because just think, if they wouldn't have done that, we probably wouldn't be able to do what we're doing right now. So that's a good thing. And so their blood was not spilled in vain, that there was a reason for it. So I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next weekend. Not sure which day I'm going to do a live yet, but I'll pick a day and let you know. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much.